Hey RV family, keep it high, keep it tight. My name is Morse, the Review Guy, and I'm back again to bring you another video. And in this one, I'm going to be doing an album review for Anaal Nathrakh's newly released album, A New Kind of Horror. So I stayed up until 12 o'clock, listened to the album in its entirety, and decided to make this video for you guys because I'm very curious to hear your guys' thoughts and for you to hear mine. So if the video seems abnormally dark, it's because I am in fact filming this at night because I wanted to get this review out for you guys and I wanted to kind of give my thoughts on this album while it was still fresh. So Mick Kinney and Dave Hunt return with another album. They released a really stellar release in 2016 entitled The Whole of the Law, and that garnered a lot of praise from metal magazines, metal reviewers, and just a lot of people who were really digging the sounds that that album really brought to the table, mixing in elements of black metal and grindcore, industrial music, noise music, death metal, and you had so much going into it that was blended into this cacophonous type of grindcore ensemble. And it really was at its foundation grindcore. That's what it was at the end of the day. Yes, there were a lot of influences, but it was primarily grindcore with a lot of black metal influence, and I was a big fan of that album. I think that the merging of so many sounds really gave it a lot of flavor, really gave it a lot of spice, and I was super just anticipating the release of this album because The Whole of the Law really was such a bombshell album that I was curious to see if they were able to outdo themselves and bring forth another album. And did it meet my expectation was the big question that I was having to ask myself going into this album with a bit of skepticism. I was like, is this going to really meet the amount of hype that I've built around it? And the answer is, yeah. So this is a concept album, a story album that deals with World War I primarily, as well as contemporary politics and the writings of poet D.H. Lawrence. And this really does go the extra mile of adding more depth to the music that you're hearing, because when you're hearing these just rip, snarl type of screams and growls over these heavy grindcore instrumentals, you know that it's not just cliche lyrics that are being belted out, but legitimate things that should be said, legitimate things that are cool stories to tell, that I think that Anaal Nathrakh goes about in such a way that they bring beauty into kind of destruction. That's the best way I can put it. They really do merge the two well on this album, to the point to where I think that it might be stylistically their strongest album just because of the story they're trying to tell. And they're not unfamiliar with going into that territory of trying to tell stories, but I just feel like on this album it's a lot more concise. This album only is about 32 minutes if I remember correctly, 10 tracks. It begins with a 1-minute interlude type of thing, or I guess you would say preface, and it doesn't wait to get you into the action, whether from a storytelling type of point of view or from a technical prowess type of point of view, where they're just firing off these just hard-hitting, pummeling drums and guitars and vocals. And that's the thing. For a two-member band, I have to say everything sounds individualized. There's nothing that gets drowned out in the mix. That's one issue with a lot of bands like this, is you may not be able to hear certain parts of the instrumentation sheerly because of the fact that it's getting drowned out in the mix because there's so much going on. But I think that Anaal Nathrakh finds that nice balance in the middle ground to be able to say, this is all going to sound like individual playing. This is going to sound like a drum, a guitar. The vocals are going to be placed here. And nothing's going to be dramatically or disproportionately higher or lower than anything to make it sound as if this isn't a concise movement and a flow of the album. And that's one thing that I gotta compliment, is the flow of the album does really well. There weren't really any slowdown points, but this is an abrasive album. That's the thing you got to understand going into it. This isn't going to be for everyone because of its abrasiveness. It has a lot of strength to it, a lot of bolstering, just hard-hitting music. And while it is done in a poetic way, and while there is a lot of like talent involved, this is a heavy album. It's not an easy album to listen to. This, as any other grindcore album would be. I mean, it's the same thing with, say, like Pig Destroyer's album that they released recently, Head Cage. I mean, when you get this type of music, it's not going to be for everyone. But I assume that if you're on this video, you found it because you are into the band. And overall, I think that this is a good effort from this band. I think that it came together really well. The vocals I have to praise, because Anaal Nathrakh always has this brute force, grit, natural grit to their vocals. And I can't tell if they edit it at all, but it really sounds natural to me. And it's impressively just I don't even know the word devilish on this album. I mean, it just sounds so harsh. And that's probably my favorite part of the instrumentation, if you can count vocals and instrument, is I loved the vocals on this album. I think that they complement the music very well, and a lot of times you will have weak instrumentation and the vocals will be like really good, or you'll have weak vocals but good instrumentation that don't really work together. I think on this album, that's not an issue at all. I think that this is balanced out. I think it's balanced out to a good degree, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's not a super long album, and I think that's important when you're dealing with an album like this harsh. I don't think that you want to step over that boundary unless you absolutely have to. I think that you really should stick to a lower marginal number. That's just my opinion when it comes to grind stuff. I mean, maybe you disagree with that. Post in the comments below. But I want to know what you guys think of this album. I'm going to give this album a 9 out of 10. It really did exceed my expectations. I mean, I knew that Anaal Nathrakh was a good band. I knew that they were talented, but I really didn't expect it to be this damn concise, this good, the storytelling to be on point, and pretty much everything to be put on point. And like I said, this is a 2-member band if you didn't know. So I highly suggest checking out this album. Is it as good as The Whole of the Law? I want to know what you guys think about that. Maybe that would be a separate video entirely, but I doubt I'll make it, but I'd like to hear what you guys think in the comment section below. Did you like this album? Did you not like this album? Do you think it matched up to their previous albums? And where would this rank in the pantheon of Anaal Nathrakh? Would there be any other releases that you'd like me to review from them, and if so, which? And I'll talk to you guys next time. Please consider like, comment, and subscribing. That helps me out a lot, and I'll shout your channel out. In the end screen, you can find my previous videos. I'll link some stuff that pertains to this video, and I'll talk to you guys next time. But until then, my name is Jay Morris, a review guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.